Hello everyone and welcome to Azam Shah Weekly. In this video I'm going to show you that how you can create a multi-state modal in SwiftUI. Now what do we mean by multi-state modal? Well, it means it's a modal that has multi-states, which means it can be hidden, it can be half screen, or it can be full screen. So let's go ahead and take a look at a small demo. If I go ahead and click on this show button, you can see it's kind of like the half screen, then it's full screen, and then it's gone. So it's multi-state modal that we're creating. All right. So let's go ahead and get started with creating our multi-state modal in SwiftUI. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I have already created a single view application which has a default view, which is a content view. The first thing that we want to do is I want to go ahead and add a brand new view that will be used as the modal, and I will go ahead and call this multi-state modal. The main point of this multi-state modal view is that you can pass in other views that will be displayed in a modal. So you can pass in a text view, a list view, a card view, anything that you like. Let's go ahead and preview it, so how it looks like, and you can see it's simply a hello world, nothing much. So if you want to pass in the view, then what you need to do is you need to make sure that you are passing in a generic type where the generic type, which is content, is actually using or conforming to the view. Now, since we are passing it over here, we also need to pass it at the bottom and in the preview. So I'm going to go ahead and pass in some ordinary view right now, which is going to be like text. It doesn't really matter. I also have to make sure that the multi-state modal is going to be allowing me to pass in the content and display the content. So I'm going to go ahead and create a content. If you don't really understand this technique that I'm using, this is the higher order views, and you can check back my videos from before when I covered higher order views. We have to pass in the content now, since that is one of the arguments. And for right now, I'm just going to pass in a text field. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to say hello world. Later on, we will change it. Let's go ahead and build that. So this means that in this view, the multi-state modal, we can actually pass in another view, which will be of type content. And you can see the type content is the one that is conforming to the view. So now I can go ahead and I can simply display this particular content, which can be anything that is conforming to the view. So over here in the body, I'm going to go ahead and use a Z stack, and I'm just going to say, okay, content. There we go. And just to make things a little bit easier to digest, I'm going to go ahead and try to see that if we can add a bit of like colors or something. You can add color, you can add background color and things like that also. All right, we're going to do that a little bit later. Right now, I can simply say over here, corner radius, and I can just pass in 20. Now, I don't really have a view that I can pass in, so I can see what's going on. So what I will do is I will go ahead and create a new view, and I will simply name this a card view. So let's go ahead and add another view. So this is a view that will be displayed inside the modal. And the card view is pretty simple, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy paste it. There we go. And if we resume the actual preview, you can see it's a simple card view. It's a VStack with an image, which is a heart.fill, which is a system icon, and that's pretty much it. Now, if I want to display this card inside the multi-state modal, I can simply change it in the preview right over here. Instead of passing in the text, I can simply pass in a card. And I can pass a card over here instead of passing in a text. So right over here, I'm going to simply pass in an actual card. And there we go. This is how it actually looks like. Right? Now, obviously, this doesn't look great. We do want some capability of this to be, making it half screen versus full screen versus not being displayed. And since we have like 3 different options, it might be a good idea to create some sort of an enum. So I'm going to go ahead and create an enum. I'm going to call this display mode. We have 3 display modes: full, which means full screen; half, which means kind of like a half screen, and none, which means, well, you're not really displaying that anyway. All right. And in order to get this multi-state modal working, we need to pass in the display state. So I'm going to go ahead and say binding var modal or mode, and this will be a display mode. This means the preview now needs to pass in all of that stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and say maybe preview. So let's go ahead and pass in the mode. And the mode that I'm passing over here is going to be full because I want it to be full screen. But how do we decide if it's going to be full screen or if it's not going to be full screen? We can definitely go ahead and work around or play around with the offset and the Y offset. So if I am passing in the Y offset over here, let's say 200, you can see it kind of becomes a half screen. Obviously, you can say pass 300 to say this is a half screen. That's perfectly fine. This is completely up to you, right? But this value has 3 values now. It can be full screen, it can be half screen, or it can also be, well, none. So I'm going to go ahead and create some sort of an offset. So you can name this property anything you want, but I'm just going to say offset of Y. And this is going to return me a CG of float. So this is going to return me an actual offset. And now I can go ahead and switch on the mode that the person is actually passing. So if the mode is actually full, then I can go ahead and return 0, basically saying that, well, there is no offset. Offset is 0. This means you will simply display the whole thing. If, in this case, the case is half, then I guess we can return 200 or 300, depending on whatever value that you like. And if it is actually none, then I can go ahead and return UI screen, which is screen.main screen. Basically, we just want it off the screen. Size.height. So it's completely off the screen now. All right. And I think now the switch mode is exhaustive. And now we can go ahead and set this offset to self.offset of Y. There we go. And we can go ahead and play this. So right now the offset, you can see it is set to full. That's why the screen is full. If I go ahead and change this to half, you can see it's now half. If I change this to none, then it just goes off screen. Cool? All right, so I'm going to start with full over here, at least in the preview. That's fine. I mean, you can change it whatever way you like. That's completely fine. The other thing I want to do is I want to obviously animate this. So animation is actually pretty simple, at least a basic animation. We can simply pass an animation and we can use this basic spring animation. All right, and now it's time for us to try it out. So I'm going to go to my content view, and the content view right now is displaying just a text, right? We can go ahead and display our modal or whatever things that you want to display. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to use maybe like a Z stack or something. And I'm going to say over here multi-state modal. You have to pass in the mode. And the mode is the one that will allow us to change that if it's a half modal or a full modal or none. We don't really have mode over here, but we need to get that. And the actual content that you want to display, which in this case is card. The display mode is a state property, so we have to declare that as a state property, so the state can be maintained between different renders. And we have the display mode, which is set to none right now. I'm going to also go ahead and add a button, so we can click the button to change the mode. And now I can go ahead and also say like kind of like an offset, so I can set the offset of the button. This is just for test purposes, obviously. I mean, you can create a button in many different ways. Now the button doesn't really do anything, so we need to make sure that when we click the button, we are doing something, we are changing the mode. Also, let's go over here and we need to find out where we can actually change all of that stuff. So let me actually show you where we can change all of this stuff. I'm going to go to my content view, try to build this. Okay, Okay, successful. So when I click the button, I have certain conditions. I can say switch the display mode, which is self.display mode. And over here, if the display mode is, let's say, none, then I want this to be a little bit like half, right? So self.display mode equals to half. Case if the display mode is half, then self.display mode equals to full. This is your conditions that we are just trying to do. And finally, if the display mode is full, then display mode, we want to do it none, which is .none, which is if it's full, then go ahead and simply hide it. Let's go ahead and build that. All right, and let's go ahead and try to play this to see that if it shows us anything or not. So it's kind of like rendering the preview right now. And if we click it, you can see, there we go. Half, full, and gone. Half, full, and gone. You can even add, if you want, shadows to that. That's going to look a little bit more nicer. So if you go to the MultiState Modal, you can see that we don't really have any shadows associated with anything. But if you do want it, you can add bits of shadows. So let me see if I can actually just drag and drop and copy the shadows. So I don't have to type in all of this stuff. There we go. You can see that we have shadows over here. And you can see that the shadow is being applied. Now I can go back to my content view, try to play this again. And this time we should be able to see part of the shadow. There we go. Half, full, gone. Half, full, and gone. So this is how you will create a modal, and not only a modal, but this is how you will create some sort of a wrapper or a higher order view that can wrap other views. Now the great thing about this modal is that you can pass in anything that you like. I mean, we're simply passing in a card, but you can pass in a card, a text, whatever you want to display. I mean, I can simply comment this part out, and I can go ahead over here and I can say whatever, hello world or something. I mean, obviously the hello world doesn't really have any background, so it will look very, very weird, but you can do that if you want to. All right, so this is completely up to you, that whatever you want to do, it will be possible when you do it. All right, so right now, actually, if it's not displaying or something, let's see what's going on. There we go. So it's displaying. I think I was just not running it. So you can see the hello world is also displaying, right? So that's the cool thing about this, is you have complete freedom of passing anything that you want. It also does have a shadow, which also does not look good, but you get the idea at least, right? I'm just going to pass in a card because that is fine for now. So in this video, you learn how you can create a multi-state modal, which have 3 different states. You have none, you have half modal, and you have full modal. And you created it as a wrapper control, which you can see over here, where you can pass in the child controls. Thank you very much. If you like this video and want to support my channel, then the best way would be to go to Udemy and check out my different courses. You can see that I have close to 46,500 plus students enroll in many of my different courses. I have courses ranging from SwiftUI development, machine learning, artificial intelligence in Swift, MVVM design pattern, RxSwift, and I have just released my brand new course, which is about testing iOS app behavior-driven development using Swift. This is a really good course if you want to get your skills to the next level and start testing your iOS applications. I do have course for augmented reality, blockchain, and all of the different stuff. So if you want to support my channel, the best way would be to look at the YouTube description. And if you want to buy, then please use the links in the YouTube description. That really helps me. And if you want, you can definitely subscribe to my channel and always give a thumbs up so that other people will know about the channel. So please like the video if you like it and share the video. Thank you so much for your continuous support, and I really hope that you have enjoyed this video.